Riste, thank you so much for taking the time being here with us.
Yeah, I apologize. It's probably been about 8 months in the making, right?
Not at all. We kept ourselves busy with quite an interesting schedule. So it's always great. Every week is a different show. Every week
Yes.
is a new character. And I mean, we met for the first time, I think more than 2 years ago in Dortmund.
Cologne.
In Cologne, actually, you're right. It
Yes.
was at
Yes.
the Big Smoke the evening before into Tobacco, and your journey is just fascinating with your background in IT and working for the
Yes.
government, and then switching to the cigar industry, and with quite an opinionated approach to marketing, PR, and communication of the product. I would say you have certainly carved your own path in the industry. Give us a little bit of the background story of who Riste Ristevski is as a guy.
I mean, I'm just a normal guy. I mean, I'm a straight shooter. I don't bullshit with people. I tell it how it is. I live my life like that. What you hear is what you get in person. Uh, I've been in IT since 2000. I've been doing infrastructure, digital security, government security, top level stuff for quite a while now, almost 12, 13 years. And yeah, I just got into the cigar industry because I love smoking cigars. I'm very detailed. I really look at everything very, I look at everything and I find the absolute best solution and possibly the worst outcome also, just to know. I think that just stems from my IT background is, I tend to analyze everything very thoroughly. So I kind of bring that to the cigar industry, and I know how to, I know the internet, I know the technology. I don't have to hire, a technology guy or anything like that. I mean, by looking at me, you don't think I know anything about it, but I do. There's a lot of stuff I can and cannot say. So, I just, I love traveling, meeting people. It sucked, I couldn't see you at Intertabak last year. I had plans to travel to a few more countries, check it out. You know, I mean, this is great. Zoom's great, but I'd rather be in a room smoking cigars and all drinking together and sharing stories. Until sun comes up. But that's how I like to do it.
I couldn't agree more there. And still, we're grateful for the opportunity to do this virtually online right now. And I'm really glad that we get to share a little bit of your story and the story of Jas Sum Kral cigars with our global audience. And
Good.
as always, for all of you who are watching over on Facebook, if you have any questions, please put them underneath the live video. Always checking the live stream, so we'll make sure to bring all your questions forward to Riste and have them
Yeah,
during
please,
our.
please ask anything you want to know. I don't shy away from answering a question. I mean, the worst I'll say is I can't answer that. you
So,
know,
Riste, when you talk about your background as an IT guy, how that sort of influenced the way you see things, your work ethic, probably. At what time in your life did cigars creep into the overall picture?
I've smoked cigars for a long time, but I mean, I think when it started turning like more into daily like business would be, I would say like a year after I opened up the company. I went in no expectations to be where I'm at right now, or even just to meet everyone I've met so far. You know, I thought it was just going to be, I might sell some cigars here and there, and for me, it was creating a blend I love. It's I guess what every cigar smoker would love to do is make their cigar they can smoke, 3-4 times a day with no issues. So for me, I mean, it was the cheapest cigars I ever bought from a humidor, so, but then I started selling them and, sales took off, and it's been a good, it would be 5 years in November last year. So, I mean, I'm lucky I've gotten this far, and I've covered quite a few countries and met, some amazing people. Uh, I came in as a cigar nerd. I'm still a cigar nerd, but I learned the cigar nerd mentality on the business side of stuff. On the background doesn't really pan out. So, I've learned some hard lessons and adapted and adjusted. And, I went from not having my own factory to having my own factory and actually moving into a bigger one And, I'll say this now, we acquired a new factory on the 31st in December. So hopefully in February, we're going to move into a building that's, 4 times bigger than what we're currently in. So it's just a steady growth. I don't try to overextend myself. I will tell, I've told many people who want to buy my cigars as far as shops and countries, I'd love to take you on right now, but I can't. I would hate to sell you something and not be able to sell you something, 2 months down the line because I don't have it. So it's it's going great, to be honest with you. Just COVID kind of threw a wrench in everything because the government side of my, IT, that ramped up really, really big because I had to start, I had to create a different infrastructure to have 300 employees work from home. So that kind of took my time for a little bit. But
You mentioned you always were a cigar nerd, and you still are a cigar nerd. Obviously, there's a whole cigar history for Riste before Jas Sum Kral came about.
yeah,
I know that you were a big vintage cigar collector,
yes.
and fan of old Cubans, right? So you truly started to sort of build a network and a community. I believe mostly in Europe. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, my very first release of 5,000, the very first cigar I did was a Red Knight Toro, just one size. And I would say about 3,500 of them went overseas when I first started selling. And the traction picked up in the US after people in, cigar groups started seeing, like high profile Cuban cigar collectors and smokers, people they see in magazines are smoking JSK Red Knight. And, people start picking them up and trying them. I would say that helped the most as far as marketing, because it's already, people already had established contacts with and spent quite a bit of money, going back and forth trading, buying boxes, you know, uh, that helped me. When I first started, one guy's like, "What did you do for marketing?" Well, if you followed me in cigar groups back in the day, I told him, I think I smoked $40,000 worth of vintage Cubans in a year, and people saw it. So people were like, if this guy's smoking that kind of stuff, week on a weekly basis, I'm pretty interested to see what he would come up and blend for himself. So that kind of, that's what kind of catapulted it, and then the first year to be out, not even like 6, 7 months into it, I get invited to Inner Tobacco, which was, for me, that was huge. I'm a nobody, I'm still just a small guy in the industry trying to do my thing, but to start getting invited to, come to different countries, and, I have importers calling me. It's like, "Hey, my guys are buying from shops in the US. How could I bring you in?" So I kind of started, utilizing Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all the groups I was in, and just went from there. I have existing relationships pre Jas Sum Kral that are, I still use and contact today. That's what it's all about. It's
Very Was this the necessary foundation for the entire brand to kick off then, and to really start that journey? Because for a lot of people, it's probably a dream come true to go from cigar enthusiast, cigar lover and smoker to either brand owner or even manufacturer. And I believe it's also important to make a clear distinction there in which group do you want to fall. But that's not an easy transition. Sure, you could
no,
phone people up or go down to Nicaragua and knock on every factory's door and be like, here's another guy who wants to throw some money at the industry and become a brand owner, right? But
yeah,
to do it properly and to be in full control of all the processes and make sure that you have a stellar product, that's a whole different animal.
yeah. I learned hard, and I learned very well. 2 years into it, you really need a good business partner in Nicaragua, which I do have now. And then, the agreement was like, this is what we're gonna do. I'll go travel. I'll hit every country I can and every store in the US and just start selling cigars, So it's been a long road, so, and I understand why some companies don't make it this far. There was a certain time where I just wanted to be like, I'm done with this, hanging up the hat and go do what I normally do. You know, it is what it is, but I enjoy it. I really do.
What would you say are some of the most important and impactful changes from that day one, from the very first batch that you did to where you are now? And then Andre, our dear friend, I believe he had a question over on Facebook in
Mhm.
regards to what do you miss the most from those early days?
Uh, from the early days I mean, honestly, I don't miss really anything. It's kind of the same, but I retooled my structure as far as my business, as far as the flow. You know, at first I didn't understand the flow, which I do now. So not understanding that flow caused a lot of stress. I mean, a lot of stress. You know, my wife would look at me and she knows I'm pissed off because I just got a message, you know, and stuff like that. But I mean, I guess I mean, if it doesn't happen, you don't learn. And I had a lot of issues the first 2 years, and you know, yeah, I learned some lessons from some importers, you know, where they're like, hey, if you keep going this way, I can't carry your product anymore. You know, so it's the hard truth that you know I accept it and I learn from it. You know, I try to adjust it. You know, uh, but I mean, compared to right now and from the beginning, I miss the travel. You know, last year was probably the least amount I traveled in 5 years. You know, even my wife, after 30 days sitting at home, she's like, "Get out of the house, go do something." You know, the biggest thing I was doing in 2020 was canceling flights, and you know, that sucked. You know,
When you think back to those old sensory memories of the vintage Cubans that you smoked, of the collection that you had back in those days,
mhm.
when you were then looking for a particular profile of cigar that you wanted to produce under your own brand and under your own name, what was that vision? What was the ideal, if you will, for the cigar to be when you actually kick things off?
I was looking for more of like if a Boulevard Gigantes and a Trinidad Dobles had a kid, a little bit stronger, you know. I love the earthy, the woody notes, but I also like the, you know, the floral, the fruity notes you sometimes get from the Trinidad. So I was kind of looking for that. I was looking for a cigar I can smoke for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You know, one of my favorite sizes is a 6x52. Also, I'm a big Lancero. I'm like smaller ring gauge guy. I can enjoy a great 32 ring to all, you know, anything over 52, I'm not a fan of really. But I do make some sizes bigger than 52 is because the market demands it, but I don't put that much focus to it. Uh, I'm very big into if I'm not going to smoke it, I'm not going to sell it to you. You know,
Mhm.
I can't be in the same room with you, and I know that cigar is not up to par for me, but try to sell you on it. So I mean, most of my stuff is 52 and under. I do make a 160 ring gauge. That's it. That's just because the U.S. demanded it. So, but I'm you know I have cigars that people tell me that are great that I've never released, and to me, I just you know I revisit them after a year or two, and if I bring the blend out, I bring the blend out. Uh, but a lot of that stuff was on the back burner because of the FDA. The FDA never told us what's really going to come down and happen. So I try to just focus on the core line and not really expand into something else, you know. But which I am doing now. You know, I have a lot of stuff coming out this year. I have a couple of releases coming out. You know, like in February, I have the Sotra Kokor that comes out in Sweden. You know, that was a 2 year project. And that's finally, you know, the Maduro is finally coming out in February. I got another international release coming out at the end of the year. I got a couple shop releases, new sizes in my core stuff coming out. But no, I mean, none of this would have been possible if I never had, you know, a partner I can trust and we both know, you know, this is the goal. We have the same end goal, you know. So I mean, I don't miss the stress from back in the day. To answer your question.
So with that idea in mind and the flavor profile you were looking for, the particular type of cigar that you wanted to manufacture, how did then suddenly how did that change once you actually arrived at the factory door and started working on the actual product?
I sat down and realized I didn't know shit, because now I'm sitting down with people that, eat, smoke, and sleep tobacco, all day, every day. I thought I knew quite a bit when I first got there, but, lesson learned, I spent a few days just, tasting a ton of different tobacco, getting the profiles down, getting the notes down. How does it affect the retro? What parts of my tongue do I really get the senses from? Now it's, I have tobacco sent to me blend, I know what we have. I have blends that, I'll come up with and sent to me, and vice versa. I'll get those made. I haven't been in Nicaragua in 2 years. Ever since I started a new partnership with Roniel, my partner, it's just, that's how much trust and faith I have in him. And I plan on going, hopefully in the next 60 days, depending how the US is and Nicaragua is with this whole COVID stuff. I'd like to see the new factory, and, just my goal this year is to actually start bringing people down when travel's open. We have the space big enough now to accommodate people. I want to show people, I'm not just a guy that just, I don't know how to say this without offending people, but I'm not a glorified sales guy. You know what I'm saying? I want people to come down and actually see where I'm at, who I work with. We really go look at field, look at tobacco, check out the farms, pretty in depth with it. I just, I'm not a sales guy. I mean, I am a sales guy, but I'm saying I'm not just a sales guy. I like to show people Nicaragua in my perspective.
Was that a challenge at the beginning? I mean, when
Yeah,
they've probably seen it 100 times, right? People showing up and being like, yeah, here I am. I'm going to start the next cigar legend as a brand.
Yeah, I mean, I don't speak Spanish. That was the biggest challenge, and still is a challenge. I don't speak Spanish. My partner doesn't speak English, so we speak between Google Translator. Even sitting together in the same room, we have a translator, discussing back and forth. That is still, I should learn, but, as he says, he's trying to learn English and I'm trying to learn Spanish. So, I mean, that's how far we've gotten. I think I just know how to make a left and right turn. We're in the car together. That's about it. But I think that kind of keeps it how it is. It's just, we talk daily, all day, every day. And I mean, we just understand each other. We both love one thing, and it's tobacco. We both have a real true love for it. I love what I do. People know what I do. The biggest question is like, if I tell them I own a cigar brand and I'm, I have my own factory and everything, I'm from Indiana, they're like, well, how is that possible? That's the biggest thing I get. It's like, because I don't look like a cigar guy. I don't look like a cigar nerd, or an IT guy. A lot of people, people in the industry are like, well, he's just some hillbilly from Indiana,
And then, to be fair, I mean, your name doesn't sound all too much like you're from Indiana as well, and neither does the brand name.
Yeah, I mean, my family's from Macedonia. I'm first generation born in the U.S. Funny story is like, I'm sitting in Germany in Dortmund, I think second year. And one guy asked, he's in the booth, and one guy asked, could I speak to the owner of the company, and blah, blah, blah. And I told him I'm the owner, and he's dead out looked at me in the eyes and says, no, you're not. Like, I don't believe you. So my sales guy had to tell him that he's the owner, he's the blender, and this is his company. He couldn't believe it for about 15 minutes. I guess I don't have that look,
Riste, that's actually a very good point. Speaking about your Macedonian background, would you say that this has impacted Jas Sum Kral just beyond the name of the brand and some of the cigar lines that you manufacture? Is there a deeper sort of connotation and influence?
Yeah, I like to bring my country's history and culture into the brand. One of the coolest things that's non-cigar related is when I travel, I meet a lot of Macedonians that don't smoke, but they come to my events just to see, like, someone they can relate to that's successful. And I get questions asked all the time, like, how did you get there? Why did you do it? For me, that's the coolest thing. Like, when people say thank you for spreading our country's, heritage or history, or even just through the naming and just, the descriptions of stuff I do, I think that's cool. And one thing that's positive is, like, there was no trademark, cigar related stuff, Macedonian names. It's like, because everyone from the States, tries to add a Spanish twist to it, or it's already all taken up, and plus a lot of my stuff is very hard to say. So it keep people talking about it. So
There's no bad marketing, isn't it?
there's no such thing as bad marketing.
Speaking of, you have a very straightforward approach
I
in
do.
not just talking about cigars, but the entire way you go about it. And you mentioned that at the very beginning, and I think a lot of people just appreciate that. Was there ever a discrepancy or a challenge when you think of some of the work that you've done for the government and your corporate background, and suddenly you're out there on your own producing cigars, which is a totally different ball game, and there you have this quite in your face sort of approach, even with some things like the fuck FDA and the nugs. I mean, these are all sort of out there concepts and projects.
I mean,
Feel
the
for
fuck the FDA came from, from the nugs because, I truly still believe, fuck the FDA, because like right now my cigar nugs is not considered a cigar because of the new description of the government. Yeah, it has CBD in it, so it does have something that's not natural from a tobacco plant. So it's considered not a cigar. So I have to file an application, which I have, and I'm not gonna lie, I got a response back from the FDA day before Christmas. It got denied, so now I have till September of this year to adjust that and fix it. So I mean, I'm going to spend a lot of time and money on that, but it's a cigar that it's completely different than what's out there. I was awarded like the most innovative man for 2020 for releasing something like that. It's just or 2019, I think it was. I try to do things different. Even like when I make a Connecticut, my Connecticut's are not. I'm not trying to replicate the Cohiba, which most people are trying to do it from Cuba. I'm trying to make a Connecticut I like to enjoy, because in general, I never like to smoke Connecticut's, so I do controversial stuff. The fuck the FDA thing got me noticed quite a bit. Also, I mean, I've been called and asked not to come to shows or other, I'm not going to lie. There's brands that hate my guts, to the point where they call trade shows and ask me not to be there because I'm releasing a cigar that says fuck the FDA. I mean, I'm saying it. No one else is saying it. I got the balls to say it. It is what it is. It's on everyone's mind. Everyone wants to say that. Everyone says it behind closed doors. I'm just the only guy saying it publicly. If you look, if I don't know if you've seen the packaging of that cigar, it's in a 10 count bundle, and it's page 1 of the litigations they sent to everyone. So now you have to rip the litigations apart to take a cigar out that says fuck the FDA, and it's got a bunch of middle fingers around it. That's me giving you my subtle reply. And people loved it. And a lot of stores won't carry it because it says fuck the FDA, which, I mean, I don't care. I sell plenty of cigars, but I'm making a statement with that. I just had the balls to say it and do it. They've asked me at trade shows not to post a banner that says fuck the FDA, because the FDA has a booth, 5 booths down from me, so it's like, it is what it is. But it's great publicity, It is what it is. When I released the nugs, I couldn't have my nugs on the show floor in Las Vegas. So, I spent all this time and money sending the cigars, getting signs made up, and I can't sell to a shop. I can't even display it. So what I did is I rented a big house and invited everyone back that wanted to buy it, and had a pool party and had steaks every night with them. So that kind of worked out in my favor. Who knows? I don't know where this industry is going to go. As far as stateside, I just released a cigar that has medical marijuana into it, and it's the same concept as nugs, but you get high. And yeah, I don't think the industry liked that at all, but I mean, it's sold out within like 15 minutes. The demand is there. Where it's going to take me, I don't know. Honestly, I thought I would be in jail a week after I sold it.
With some of these concepts, I mean, as you just mentioned, that's a risky move even.
Yeah.
Did you sort of play with that and
Oh yeah.
thought that would be a a big marketing push, or was it just a natural expression of who you are and what you wanted your brand to be?
Uh, it's just who I am, man. I got friends that smoke weed. I got a lot of friends that smoke weed. I got a lot of friends that smoke weed and tobacco. I mean, the way the CBD cigar was developed is I was taking CBD at the time, and so was my buddy, and we're out and smoking a cigar, and he's like, it'd be cool if you had CBD in that cigar. And at that time, I'm at a lab in Colorado. I know people. I sat down and put it together. I thought it was a cool idea, great concept. And I remember when I was doing it, I told myself either it's going to fail drastically or it's going to explode. There's no in between. And it exploded. But if I sat there and looked at the negative side of it, I probably would have never done it. But I was like, fuck it. Let's do the initial release was 2,000 of them and they were gone in a heartbeat. So same concept with the marijuana side. I just sent Snoop Dogg a package. I guess someone told him and he was interested in the box. So I actually sent him a box 2 weeks ago. I mean, that for me, that's cool, saying, hey, Snoop Dogg wants a box of your cigars because there's marijuana in it. So no brainer for me, But yeah, I mean, talking to people and talking to a lot of, lawyers and people that understand compliance, they said, ultimately, it's your call. You could get picked up and go to jail, but there are loopholes, and we found a loophole that I utilized. And as far as, the nugs, I figured that's something, the way the whole world is looking at CBD and how it's going around the world, I put a patent on it. The patent took me 3 years to do, I should get final notice on it real soon, but that's something I own for the next 20 years. The utilization of CBD being delivered through nicotine through a cigar. So, I mean, that's how that came about.
Let's go a step back. And when
just so I jump around, so I mean that's just how I am.
No, that's all good. That's perfectly fine. And I do jump around quite a bit myself. But I'm so very curious about the evolution of your personal journey, of how you worked with the brand from day one. And you actually started as more of a direct-to-consumer brand. And,
yes, for
then
almost 2 years.
And you changed your distribution and retail model after that. How was that transition playing out for you? And I mean, COVID and the last year, online, all these different moving parts are constantly challenging
yes.
and changing the industry as a whole. So do you actually see direct to consumer as
that's coming back,
more manufacturers will consider, or what?
Yes.
What is your glimpse into the crystal ball there?
I mean, so when I first started, I was strictly, I had this model from the factory door to consumer's door, no middleman. I shipped every package from my house. I housed every cigar in my walk-in humidor downstairs. I had my own packing, shipping, I guess I would say, me, my mom, my wife, and my kids. And it was going great. For 2 years, it was going solid, great. But I kept getting messages every day of cigar shops. Hey, you got to quit selling online. I'll carry your cigar. I'll carry your cigar, but you got to quit selling online. At that time, I made a deal with a few people. If you carry my cigar, I will punch in my website that the surrounding 100 miles can't order online directly from me. They would be referred to you. So that was going pretty good. But then I just started getting a bigger interest by the really big shops, the guys who own the 10 to 20 stores, and they want to take me, cover the East Coast or the South, and also a couple of international countries, same thing. Hey, you got to stop selling online. So 2.5 years into direct consumer, was going great. I just said, I'm done. I'm moving everything to the warehouse. We're going, from the factories to brick and mortar. And a guy I know in the industry who kind of I reach out to for advice and stuff like that, he said I was stupid. He goes, he's looking at my numbers. He goes, you're stupid if you stop going direct to consumer and go straight to the business, to the brick and mortars. But I had a list of literally 300 shops I said no to. And when I went to IPCPR that year, and because one year I skipped because I just didn't see no benefit to it. You know, same, my customers were not going to the show. My customers are the ones, you know, listening to this podcast right now. And the year I went back to IPCPR, I had a motto: no more direct to consumer. I shut down the website literally a month before the show to show that I'm really doing it. I probably had 50 shops lined up and bringing up messages that are over a year old. Once you're ready, you know, I had a guy come up, he goes, look at the last message I sent you. Let me know when you're ready to, I'll buy your cigars. He was at my booth and I was just opening up orders and going great. You know, I'm in well over 500 stores right now. But now since COVID hit, when you have 90% of them shut down, you know, for a month, month and a half, you know, I didn't care. I mean, I think in April, I didn't sell one cigar. I didn't care. But the problem was other brands were offering such massive discounts now to move product because, you know, I don't rely on my cigar income to live. So I told shops that there's no discounts. I'm not interested. I'm not interested to undercut myself another 20, 30% off wholesale. So when everything started opening back up, me by telling shops I'm not undercutting myself, the brands that did that have no cigars. So now I have shops calling me saying, hey, I need cigars. Well, there's no discount, but I have all the cigars you want. So it picked right back up. But if this keeps going the way it's going, and just looking at a technology side of pointing things, you know, more and more shops are doing direct, you know, online stuff. I know plenty of stores that were never online where, you know, we're saying, well, I only sell to my customers that walk in. Well, you can't survive like that right now in the United States. You have to sell online. And I do see a lot of manufacturers that will be going direct to consumer. You know, I mean, it's sad to hear when this brand released half their sales force. This brand got rid of, you know, these sales guys. I mean, if there's no shops open, there's no reason to have a broker or sales guy that can't go on the road. You know, unfortunately, I do see a lot of people going direct to consumer, and it's sad to say, you know, it's like something that I was doing. I don't plan on going back to it, but if I have to, you know, I'll look at the option. But at this point right now, I don't see myself doing that. But I do see it coming. You know, the cigar industry will change. I don't think this year with COVID made people look at like their financials, you know, their cash flow that run the company, who trim the excess fat. You know, do I really need this person here? Do I need this person here? I mean, it's the hard truth, but that's what's really going down. It comes down to money for a lot of people. You know, I still have everyone I hired, unless I fired you for some. I never fired anyone for, you know, COVID related reasons. You know, I tend to be different from everyone else.
What do you think that's gonna mean for the industry as a whole on a mid to long term perspective? I mean, it's a tough question, and you're probably not all too worried about all the other stuff that's going on there. And you certainly mentioned it had impacted your brand, but
yeah,
you think at the industry as a whole, like, what's that going to look like in 5 years?
The whole cigar industry, like in general in the United States, or just, you know, in general everywhere. There's a thing in IT that we say all the time: either you know your shit or you don't. You sink or swim. You know, I think a lot of people are going to sink, unfortunately. You know, a lot of these brands are dependent on who they work with with their factory. And when it comes down to it, is the factory going to do their stuff or they're going to do your stuff? You know, that's how I look at it. You know, it's just I set my own prices. You know, and I'm not affected if the factory changes its own prices because we own it. But if you're in a factory that decides to start really discounting product, why would they buy yours? You know, it's going to be, the margins are going to be a lot smaller to survive. You know, and if you can't travel, you can't sell. You know, I'm a firm believer. You know, I'd rather give you a cigar and sit down in person, how we did in, you know, in Cologne. That's when I met you, you know. And I still remember the conversation we had because I had that experience with you because, you know, Cooley introduced me to you,
Yeah.
you know, and he's like, yo, you've really got to talk to him. He's a really interesting guy as far as flavors and palates and, like, you know, and I'm into that too. So we kind of clicked, but that would have never
I
happened.
remember when we spoke about barbecue and your love
Yeah,
for cooking and making up all these wonderful aromas and flavors, everything that's going on around the kitchen. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's those
yeah,
encounters and personal meetings.
yeah. Personal meetings are best because all your senses are activated. You know, this is great, but I don't think the industry could survive if meetings and conventions are digitally. This is an old industry based on face to face. We're not selling TVs or electronics. I'm selling you something that to burn.
I think that's also the reason why brick and mortar has always been the bread and butter and the foundation of the industry. And it still has that depth and weight and that charm associated to it.
The real the brick and mortars that are up and running successful right now after COVID are the ones that learned because of COVID. They realized anyone can sell a cigar. You can go to any big city in the US or anywhere in Europe, anywhere, and see 10, 15 cigar lounges within, 50 miles. I mean, they learned you really got to sell an experience now. You're selling an experience to a person. You want him to come in or her come in, enjoy her day, forget the outside world, what's going on, cater to them. What do coffee, liquor, try to pair them up with a different cigar that you might like. Those are the companies, the brick and mortars are really good right now. The brick and mortars have never understood that and just looked at, hey, give me 30% off your boxes because I want to put 15% off and I can sell more. Those are the companies that are hurting right now. Those are the companies that don't understand it. We all look for the best price and everything, but like when it's an indulgence and experience, you're willing to pay the premium price. Instead of just, hey, I saved, $2 on this cigar, I'm gonna go back home and smoke in the garage versus, if I paid an extra $2-3, sit down in a lounge, you might meet someone, talk to someone you don't know, share an experience, that goes a long way. So shops that cater to that will always be there. Shops that don't, I mean, that comes from COVID. Beforehand, people just walk in, smoke a cigar shop. But, COVID made it, people realize you got to start catering to people then, versus to say, here's 5 cigars, the cheapest ones on the shelf, have a good day. So,
Riste, when you speak about experience and when you take holistic experiences on a multi-sensory level into consideration, how do you factor that into the experiential side of Jas Sum Kral? How do you wave that in and make it an overall holistic and cohesive story to tell and an experience to be had?
well, I mean, I look at it like this, like I don't try to cut corners in anything I do. And if I did, I don't think I would have the experiences I have right now, as far as traveling, going to countries, eating food I thought of, I would never eat, but eating it, meeting people. And I look at it like, you just have to be true to yourself. And like, I don't cut corners into, I don't release something and then buy the cheaper version of the tobacco and run with it, just to try to save 15 cents. I look at it like, I'm just being who I am. I mean, when this podcast ends, if you ever see me in the street or anything, I'm talking to you the exact same way and tell you the exact same thing. Nothing scripted. It's not a dog and pony show. You know what I'm saying? I don't. Even with, I think that's why a lot of people in the industry hate my guts, really, because when I started out direct consumer, I was told don't do that. That's not the motto. That's not the framework of how this works. I'm coming from an infrastructure side. I'm like, well, I can create my own framework. I know what works. If it doesn't, yeah, I'll try yours out. But it's just I just do what I want to do and how I look at things. And I think
apart from the personal component, um, can you also sort of translate the experiential element into the physical product? I'm all about creating and designing those holistic experiences, and I think in the cigar world, yes, there is the design of the ring, there is the box design, and the maybe a marketing campaign or a sushi around it that you build. But I believe there's so much more to be had, so much more to be experienced in terms of the way you present and offer the product to speak to all the senses. And sometimes I would wish that we could play more with all the surrounding elements. I mean, a cigar is so much more than just a piece of tobacco leaves rolled into whatever vitola it is, but everything around it, and staging that experience, I believe, is going to be crucial for the future.
Yeah. I mean, the cigar is the gateway to a conversation, a gateway to another experience that you probably would never have. You know what I'm saying? I know plenty of people that I've met through cigar industry. I would probably never talk to them outside of cigar industry because I don't think I ever would. You know, I've met some very cool people, some interesting people, just because someone likes my cigar. Someone enjoyed my palate or my senses. And telling people, the red night pairs very well with like a sherry cask, scotch, or a high proof bourbons. I mean, I like all that stuff. I like top shelf gourmet food. I love expensive bottles of bourbon. I love expensive bottles, everything. That's just how I am. So I go out and I try to live my life and then try to put it through my cigars. I don't kind of hold anything back. You know, uh, at
Was
one
that the
point,
way you educated your palate as well? Just
yeah, yes.
trying everything that you could get hold of?
Well, that and I mean, just growing up in European culture in the United States, the food I ate was different every day. It was home cooked meals. It was stuff from the garden that my mom grew. So like you get the raw experience, the raw flavor of things. I'm learning how to deconstruct and reconstruct different palettes of or different dishes of food at like 8, 9 years old through my mom. She's making this handmade desserts, bread, stuff like that. So it kind of honed in my senses as far as when I pick up a cigar, I can get 10 to 15 different notes out of it, where most people just, get one or just say it tastes like tobacco. Yeah, it tastes like tobacco, but how is it affecting your senses of what you ate today or what you're drinking right now? And like, are you basing your cigar you're smoking right now based off you had a coffee or a scotch or a bourbon? I can do that with people when, hey, I really liked your cigar, but it didn't go well with this coffee. Well, try it with, no joke, like a green tea. It might actually, get the palates to come out a little bit, the flavor notes. So yeah, I mean, I think I have a really good sense as far as taste and palate, and if before I got into cigar industry, and I was really thinking about it. A really well-known guy in the industry is like, if you know how to cook from scratch, you know how to blend a cigar. You know,
Do you then take a lot of the inspiration for the actual cigars from outside of the cigar industry?
what do you mean?
To give you an example, when I was working as a bartender and competing on an international level, most of my inspiration for all the creations that I did had zero to do with the bartending world, but it much rather came from top Michelin starred chefs, and all these other industries that would probably speak to my senses. And then I just sort of put it together in a new way and implemented it in a totally different field of expertise.
Yeah, I mean, I would look at cigars and brands from the U.S. that I really enjoyed, and when I'm in Nicaragua, get the depth of how to deconstruct that cigar and pull out what I like from it. And one thing I do, which is pretty odd, which I've been told is pretty odd by a lot of people in the cigar industry. So at trade shows, most people are going to the trade show to find that one cigar, that best cigar that's coming out, right? So when you come to my booth at a trade show in the U.S. or wherever, I ask you, what's the worst cigar you had today? And I take notes, and I go out and I buy those cigars, and I try to figure out why you hated that cigar, and then I try to understand what was done wrong in the blending process or just in the fermenting process, and know not to go that route. So I can't, say I like to break stuff down, and I've been told by a lot of people in the industry, that's pretty odd, but I enjoy smoking a lot what people think is probably the worst cigar they've smoked. I try to get a grasp of your palate, that person's palate, see how I don't go down this path.
That's a
How
highly
many
interesting
acids do you
approach.
have to smoke?
Cool, you're my friend. I've seen that bar plenty of times. How are you doing?
I'm great. Yeah, I wish
Excellent.
I could stay on a little bit longer, but I have my own Zoom meeting and in about 15 minutes at 9 p.m. our time. So, but
Nice.
I'll stay on. Good conversation. Don't let me interrupt you any further.
I like that glass.
I think that's.
I'm actually taking a screenshot of your face right now.
Your type of whiskey, right?
Ah, yes. Yes, sir. That's some the bottom swill stuff. That's great though.
Sorry, I didn't want to.
Don't be sorry at all, man.
All good.
Totally, it's always a pleasure to be interrupted by you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Cool is a great guy.
I have to say thank you that you actually introduced Riste and myself back in the days. So that was a very, very great evening there in Cologne.
Yeah. Oh, it's
great
true.
Guy.
Yeah, it's kind of sucks. I mean, right now in Germany, they're talking about extending the lockdown until Easter. So I'm gonna go insane until that. I'll have to meet Riste somewhere, and we'll gotta go to Mexico or something.
The name of the place, and we'll be there.
Yeah, we really got to talk in our chat about that.
Yes, 100%.
Riste, regarding that very interesting approach that you just described during the trade shows, and then you go and buy all the cigars other people had not enjoyed. What were your own learnings from that? What were some of the takeaways? Did you actually think, hey, that's not as bad of a cigar as other people might have thought? Or
I learned one thing: never bring unaged cigars to a trade show you're trying to sell. So everything I bring to a trade show has been sitting for a year. A lot of people, what I learned, bring something they rolled a month ago just to get it there to show off. And I don't understand that concept, because I'm coming there to sell you a product, and I want you to smoke the product that is pristine conditions. You know, my cigars in Vegas, you know, there's no humidity, so they dry out real fast. So I rented a truck in the parking lot that stayed on for 3 days, humidified. You know, so everything I gave out was in perfect smoking, what I think was the most optimal condition to smoke. And that paid off when shops were calling me 2-3 weeks later. It's like, hey man, I got this in your sample bag and it's smoking amazing. I'm happy I didn't smoke it that day. I learned that, you know, if you want to bring something to the trade show floor, bring your best. You know, I'm not a big name to say, hey, smoke this in 6 months will be great, but you know, here's a PO. You know, I tell people, if you love it, buy it. You know, I'm trying to give you my best product at the best time. You know, so that's the first thing I learned from that, is when I went and bought the cigars that everyone hated. Most of the cigars were not even, you know, 30 days old. You know, they're still wet, unsmokable. So I learned that from the business aspect of that. And most of them are great cigars now after they've sat for a year. But I'm not going to sell you 500 boxes until you don't sell it for a year. You know, I don't rush into things. You know, when people want to do projects with me, I tell them it might take a year to do. And well, so-and-so said they can do this in 8 weeks. Well, call so-and-so. I'm not doing it that fast. You know, I don't think you can get truly artwork or media and the band design. It takes at least a couple of months, you know, unless you already have it.
Riste, is the fact that you never had to live off of your cigar business the ultimate liberating element that just gives you the opportunity and the guts to go about the industry as you do?
Yeah, I don't wake up thinking what my margins are. You know, like I said, you know, like in April, I didn't sell one cigar, but I was perfectly fine with it. You know, I woke up every day, you know, spent time with my family, still did my business, and I wasn't stressing about money not coming in from the cigar industry. I knew it would come back, just didn't know when. You know, I looked at it like, all right, I got X amount of cigars in the warehouse. If it goes this route, I have enough cigars based on sales to last me for 4.5 months. If not, I got cigars that last me for a year. So, I mean, that helps a lot, you know, because I'm not looking for the cheaper tobacco. I'm not looking how to save, you know, an extra 50 cents on a box. You know what I'm saying? I'm not looking to save an extra 15, 20 cents a pound on tobacco. You know, if I like it, I do it, you know.
it probably sounds counterintuitive that once you just let it go and you're not dependent on something, and you just don't give a shit about it, it frees you up in a way, like you can, and
I
that
get the
ultimately means success for the project as such, and then it comes back manifold.
Yeah, by far many folds. The biggest thing I get is people are like, wow, you're just like a normal guy like me. I'm not the suit and tie wearing guy that walks around. I have sales guys for that if they want to wear suits and ties, but I'm not going to portray. There you go. I'm not going to portray something I'm not. I do tours in Europe in jeans and a hoodie, and people are like, "What are you doing? You need a suit and tie?" I'm like, well, people don't see me in suit and tie unless I'm at a wedding or celebrating something. Trust me. I mean, I can dress up, but I don't need to dress up to sell my cigars, because if I do that, people will know I'm bullshitting them. I'm trying to sell them something because I need the money. That's just from my perspective. But I do see people every day in suits that that do that. It's just,
and maybe it fits certain people. I mean, there's plenty of suit and tie sort of people, and it's who they are. And thankfully, there's different characters, different brands out there. And as long as you speak your innermost truth and be authentic, I think that's really what it all comes down to. And there's room for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, there's a picture of Coolio's holding up the bow tie. That was years ago at a wedding in Detroit. I enjoy dressing up, but not every day. I'm not the guy that's going to be in a tuxedo in the factory and say, "Hey, buy my cigar because I look great in it." I'm just the guy that says, "Hey, this is a great cigar. If you believe me or not, don't if you hate it, you hate it. Tell me why you hate it at least." I respect that. Versus, "Hey, this cigar is shit." Well, tell me why it's shit. I want to learn from that.
In regards to that, a question that I like to ask all our dear guests on the show normally, and Allison actually put that into the comments on Facebook, is what would you like to see changing in the cigar industry if you could wish for something? I mean, taking everything that we've discussed into consideration, what is something that you would love to see as a natural evolution for the industry?
I will probably catch a lot of shit for this, but I would love to see brand owners and companies actually work together. Not say they're working together in the public forum, but actually working together. Like, no joke, I have gotten more help on regulations by people I've never met for Europe, from store owners, from people I know in Europe, than I've gotten more help in the US on the FDA. The FDA thing I've done by myself with one other person. When I first got into Europe, and I didn't know shit about the regulations, I was getting emails of, "This is how you do it. This is what you got to do. You got to register this." So I got help. You know what I'm saying? And the stuff in the US came out, no, nothing. I got told by one guy to shut the fuck up because I asked too many questions. So why would I pay into your organization if I'm told to shut the fuck up? And I'm just asking, it's like I said, this probably can get me a lot of shit, but I've been through it before. I don't care. I would really love to see people actually work together. From my level to the top level. Just because I can't donate $1 million doesn't mean I shouldn't. I should know that answer if I'm still part of that organization. I would really love the people, the most overused term in this industry is brother of the leaf. It doesn't exist on my side of the thing. I wake up every day, people praying to God I lose my company or don't sell another cigar because it affects their margin. There's a guy that says you won't sell more than 100 boxes, I guarantee it. So when I saw him in Dortmund 2 years after I've been there, I'm like, "Hey man, I've sold way more than 100 boxes, just to let you know." So there's people out there just, waiting for someone else's downfall, not worrying about their own business, not trying to retool and restructure how they operate. I don't look at any of that. I don't care what any company does. But if I can help someone by a simple question and answer it honestly, I will. I really, this whole FDA thing, we got lucky. Instead of filing schedule equivalents on all my SKUs, I had to file it on one, and that was my nug cigar. People can look at my application. I have no problem showing my denied application. I have no problem showing all the paperwork I put in.
And you ask enough quite a lot about the project on the website, right? You put a lot of the stuff for nugs on the Jas Sum Kral website.
Yeah, I mean, that cigar, if it goes the way it goes, I don't see that cigar being existent in the U.S. But who knows? I'm not going to give up right now. I won't give up, but people want me to give up. And if I can get an approved schedule equivalence, I would be more than happy to help someone else get an approved schedule equivalence. I don't see people as my competition. Greed is what people's competition is. Greed is, the failure of all people. If I can help you develop your brand and somehow mine fails, I'm not going to say, oh, fuck, I helped him. He was successful and I failed. I'm going to be like, fuck yeah, congrats, he's good. I really wish people would stick together and do that. I'm down to fly to anywhere in the US and sit down and discuss things and hash things out. Like, hey, where are your problems? Maybe I fixed it. And these are my problems. Maybe you can help it and attack it as a whole versus, a lot of people just ask for your money. But then when you ask the question, what are you doing with my money? What's the update? What's going on? I could have spent that money towards my lawyer. I could have spent that money somewhere else. People need to like really come together, right? And now when the whole FDA thing is saying, oh, it's on the back burner now, it can come about in 3 months, 6 months, or 2 years from now. Who knows? But at least try to be ready for it now. We've seen what they've asked for us. I've seen the testing that's being asked to require in testing. Let's attack it as a whole versus 200 different brands at one time trying to attack it. And, I really hope people come together. Like I said, I've gotten more help for regulations in Europe from people I've never met in person. I've gotten more flack in the US saying, well, fuck, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? You don't know what you're doing. The thing is, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it. And I'm going to learn from a mistake from doing it. I can't donate $1 million a month like some people do and just pay a lawyer $500,000 doing my paperwork. I just hope people really use the term brother relief and live by it on the industry side. It's great. On the consumer side, it's great. I'm not saying brother relief doesn't exist. Brother relief truly exists. To be able to travel half the fucking world, stay at people's homes. I have no clue who they are. I just met through Facebook. We bond and we click and I've slept on floors in apartments in Sweden, Germany, Amsterdam, all over. It's just and my wife would be like, you don't know that person. I tell her, I kind of do through cigars. I trust this person. This guy's bringing me in their home, showing me, how they smoke meat and, or making alcohol and stuff like that. That's brother relief to me, but that doesn't exist on my side as far as manufacturing side. I hate to say that, but it needs to be said, just like the sign above me that says, fuck the FDA. There's a middle finger there for a reason. I've done my own FDA regulations with one other person and pretty much got no outside help from anyone or any organization. And I will say that, and I don't give a fuck either, because some of those people in the organization are the ones who told me to shut the fuck up because I've asked too many questions. But if you're going to ask for my money and I give it to you, at least give me an answer on something. That's how I look at it. So I really hope people do come together and really look at this FDA as like what it really is, because it really can't shut down 90% of the cigar industry in the US. It's going to be a sink or swim. And then it's going to come to regulations. Can you pay the fine? Can you pay the fee? At one point I was looking at what 5 SKUs I'm going to register because I can't afford to do the entire line and get a maybe, or, take that chance. I was sitting there looking at my best sellers and what I think I could develop it now, we get it registered, and pull the trigger. I'm probably going to get messages like you're an asshole for saying that, but it is what it is.
I think it's some highly interesting points that you bring up there, and raising those concerns and speaking from the heart. What do you think is always the right move? And then the question just becomes, how do we all go about it? And is it just a utopia that you're trying to the picture of people actually coming together, or is there a path forward, and what could it look like?
I would like to see utopia. I would like to see everyone gather every year, every 6 months, every 3 months, somewhere different, enjoying themselves. Not gathering every year and noticing the crowd is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and no one in this crowd has decided to do anything to prevent that. You know what I'm saying? Because eventually, I mean, with the regulations, there's X amount of tax, and that tax will never go lower, it'll always go higher. You lose, let's say, 50 brands, the other people are going to absorb what they paid, and it's going to raise their costs. So, like I said, I mean, even if I don't like you as a brand or as a person in this industry, I don't wish anyone to fail in this industry, because it's just people. I mean, I would sit there and be like, man, if I just told him to do this, he could have, got an approved letter or something. I'm not sitting at home saying, with the checklist, hoping these brands will go out of business. I know some are doing it to me, but that drives my fire, my fuel. That's what keeps me going. I love it. I love when people say to me, like, don't do that, and then come back a year later and they're doing the same shit now. It's just, I don't fit in the norm. I do my own thing. People that work with me love it. I'm probably the easiest boss, but I have no problem firing you in a split second either for something stupid. It's just the IT side. But there are some great people in this industry that are really fighting the fight and getting somewhere. I just wish more people would do it and help more people out. I mean, when I first started, I couldn't afford $500 to give to someone, because I'm looking at my tobacco expenses. I'm looking at, my boxes are going to cost me this much money. Can I put my 500 towards, to make my bands prettier, put another layer of embossing on them? But now it's just like, I have no problem showing my paperwork to people, in which I have. And, I have no problem helping anyone out. Even if you want to start your own brand or line, even if it's not with me, I'll tell you, hey, call this guy. I know he's a trustworthy person. Because, there are people in this industry who will just take your money and run. It's happened quite a bit, I've seen.
And on the other side, the wonderful aspect that you mentioned is the real brotherhood and the real sisters and brothers of the leaf on the consumer side. And why we all love this industry so much is that cigars are this uniting element that can really bring people together. And it will never stop to fascinate me why this humble, most honest product has such a power and such a strength in bringing those people together and uniting all of us.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I've had people say, they'll call me. I'm in town for 2 weeks. I'm flying in from Dubai. Stay at my house. You're more than welcome. I got a bed for you. It's not because you did the same thing for me. I know you would do the same thing for me if it never happened. But it's just, when I travel and like, I've met some kids. I send them birthday presents. I don't have to do that. But it's just the fact I met them. I got to experience your family, your life. In kind of the same way. To me, that's brother of the leaf, not, hey, this is a great cigar. Cool. I'll see you on Facebook, whatever. It's, hey, come to my family's barbecue or come to the house. I got dinner, let's go to this place. Let me show you around town, stuff like that. I never, my wife always asked me, who are you going to be with? I said, I'm going to be with like a family member, because I get treated like a family member. It's a beautiful thing, And Coolio was the first one to actually really show me that overseas. You know what I'm saying? I have mad respect for the guy. My house is his house, and he knows that.
Where do you think, in essence, that truly comes from? Is it just that it's a particular bunch of people who enjoy and appreciate cigars?
I think passion first. You gotta love it. You don't see cigarette smokers doing this with people. It's passion of the product. It's something it's a product you sit down and enjoy for an hour or two, and makes you rethink on a lot of things. When I smoke, I think stuff from back in the day or what's currently going on, or I just shut my mind down. I'm not rushing through it. And you meet someone at a trade show, you meet someone in a cigar lounge, you kind of click, you have the same interests, do the same thing. And it just goes from there. It's like, I'm in Sweden the first time I had moose heart, which I loved. Smoked moose heart was amazing. A guy saw I had smoked moose heart, and 2 days later, he brought his version to the event. He goes, I hit this moose with my truck or some shit like a month ago, and we just chopped it up and smoked it. And to me, that was cool. And then I'm in a sauna at the end of the night with like 3 other dudes, My wife's like, what are you doing? You at the hotel? I was like, no, I'm in a sauna. I'm sleeping here actually at the house. So it's like, I would have never got that if I was just smoking cigarettes. You know what I'm saying? The cigars, it's a portal to another, life. I would say, which is, I try to explain it to my friends that don't smoke cigars. They don't understand it. They don't understand it. I try to tell them, like, if you don't smoke a cigar, go to a cigar lounge and just sit there and just absorb the conversation, absorb the people that come in and out. You're going to meet guys that don't have jobs, to CEOs, to doctors, to the mill worker, the electrician, to whoever, but they all come in and they have one common ground. It's just leave the stress outside, enjoy your cigar, enjoy life. You never know who you can meet. I opened Malaysia sitting in a lounge in Amsterdam. Never had a sales pitch or nothing. He just, we had a great conversation. At the end of the conversation, he's like, "Oh, well, I'm the importer from Malaysia. I'd love to bring your cigars in." No need to talk at Dortmund. So it's, like I said, it doesn't happen with like cigarettes or really any other products. Maybe with like car guys, like car lovers, but tobacco is a beautiful thing. And if people understand that, it can be it's a great world.
So at the very beginning, we spoke about how your background in IT has probably influenced your way with cigars. Taking into consideration what you just said and how cigars truly become a way of life and a philosophy, then would you now say that your journey with cigars is having a big impact back on the other businesses that you do and the way you go about IT?
Uh, I still do IT. I love IT. I love IT just as much as I love cigars. I mean, I got into an industry that, to me, it's not work. It's just something I do. I love doing it. But I will say this: I really truly didn't start living life until I started my cigar company, to really see what's out there and really enjoy what comes with it. And I wish I'd done it sooner or not, but it doesn't affect my other businesses at all. You know, with IT, you work remote. I can work anywhere in the world, and I can, and my boss understands that. I told him, if I have to go here, you can call me. I'll fire up the laptop. It might be a couple hours time difference, but it's no big deal. But I still do it. I still work for the government. It doesn't take away from the cigar industry now because of COVID. At first it did, but now since everyone's remote, I travel more. When stuff opens back up, I'll hop on a plane and come back 2 days later. But I didn't start living life until my life didn't start living until I started doing cigars. Like started traveling, meeting people, seeing people's different perspectives on everything. That's how I look at it.
One wonderful thought.
Yeah.
Roy Sommer, who's here with us, he was
at the factory. He saw the new place too.
Exactly. He was on a lengthy journey, and he commented on the factory a while ago. Tell us a little bit about that evolution of all the different factories that you've been working with, and then having your own factory, and now this entire new chapter. Tell us a little bit how that felt for you from day one, and just how the process management and everything from an organizational standpoint has changed over those years.
I mean, it started, I was working with someone. I had to rely on them. Whenever they decided to do something, that's when my product was going to get done. It got to the point where I needed product faster than what it was moving, or, I was getting answers I didn't think were real, and I was getting answers to questions. If I ask you something on Monday and you give me the answer on Friday, which I should have known the answer on Mondays, a lot of starts, I just got away from it. I ended up absorbing the place I was at, and a couple of weeks later, just because the demand was there, we moved to where we're at now, which was capacity of about 400,000 a year we can do, to a place that we got the keys on December 31st that hopefully we get running. Roy saw everything. When I saw Roy was in Nicaragua, and I've known Roy for 5-6 years, maybe longer, before I started doing cigars, just through trading and talking about Cubans. And I messaged him. Here's my partner's number. Call him. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. What's mine is there. What mine is there is yours. Take what you want. Smoke what you want. And it's awesome. You know, we're going to a place that we can expand up to 2 million cigars a year now. I don't think I'm going to ever outgrow it. I think if I get to that point, it'll be great. You know what I'm saying? You see other people, you know, grow, but then to see your own growth, you know, going back through magazines and giving interviews of where you're at, you know, it's stuff like that. It's awesome. And I wish everyone else the same thing, you know. You know, it's cool. Roy got to see it before I saw it. I just saw pictures, you know what I'm saying? But that's, you know, like if you were there, I'll tell you, go there, enjoy yourself. You get treated like a family member, you know, so takes you out to his home, cooks for you, clean, whatever. You want to make a cigar, make a cigar. You know, I think it's cool to be able to provide that kind of hospitality with someone you trust so much. You don't have to be there. You just know it's going to be right, you know, and that's what I was looking for in a partnership. You know, it's, I don't have to worry about my cigars. I don't have to worry about them, you know, being shipped on time, or, you know, the box is showing up on time, the band showing up on time, because that's some of the hardest thing to do is keeping on top of the box guy, the band guy, getting them delivered on time, delays. You know, if it rains for a week in Nicaragua, everything's delayed 2 weeks, you know? So it's just to have someone in place that understands that and truly understands that. Like I told him, you know, hey, this is my buddy Roy. He's like, well, what does he do? He's just a good friend of mine and we've talked for a long time, you know, show him the place. And, you know, I got videos of Roy dancing at the nightclub a couple nights ago. They're pretty funny, but I won't share. So, but to be able to do that, you know, that's awesome. You know, and I would do that for anyone else who messaged me on Facebook. Hey, I'd love to check your place out. I get that all the time. Here's the number. Go check it out. You know, we don't do the guided tour or stay on this place. You want to experience this till you know, we will try to help you do that. And I think that's cool to be able to do that. Sitting here from Indiana, you know.
What did it take to build that relationship with your partner right at the factory there? Was it just a lucky shot that you guys sort of met and clicked, or was it really something that you've developed over the years?
So my current partner, I've known him since the beginning of JSK. He was an employee of the last place, the first factory. And we had a bond right off the bat. You know, there's people say you can meet a genuine person right off the bat. And I knew I met a genuine person. You know, he took his time to show me everything, this and that. And I bought him his first pair of shoes in Esteli, his first custom pair of shoes, you know. And he's like, why are you doing this? No one's ever done this for me, you know. I just, you know, appreciative for you going out of your way and doing this and that and that. And we always kept in touch. He was never the main person to talk to for my brand, but we always kept in touch. And even when he left the factory to go somewhere else, I paid extra money for him to come back to the factory to check my stuff. He didn't have to do that, you know. And when everything happened, you know, I flew back in, I called him. I'm in Nicaragua. I'll meet you at the factory. And I looked at him. I was like, either I leave this place and go to somewhere else, because I was talking to 2 huge brands, or 2 factories in Italy to move my production over to. And I said, hey, me and you 50-50 on a handshake, boom. That's it. I don't need no contract or nothing like that. I knew it was genuine, was that. I go, here's some money, get the place up and going. Let me get back to the States, start selling some cigars. You start rolling production, and we'll just try to make a name for ourselves. And that was it, you know. I knew I can trust the guy from day one.
What did that change in terms of sourcing the raw material and getting the tobacco that you need? Because quite often it sort of comes with the relationships that you have, or it could come through the factory that you're working with, right? But then you have your own factory and still work on getting the top tobaccos that you need.
Yeah, I mean, so we had an understanding. You know, he knows tobacco. I trust him. He knows what I like. I don't have to depend that the good bale is going to get purchased. It's going to get purchased because I know he will purchase it. But it opened up the fact that now I have less stress. Now I can go in deep, blend, enjoy it. You know, I was there and he's like, hey, there's one farm in Somoto. Let's go try that tobacco. hour and like 45-minute drive. Okay, let's go. Sat in the fermenting barn, smoking tobacco. I was like, this is great. Before it would be like, all right, this is what I have. This is, stuff to do your stuff. And it is what it is. Now it's like, I get to go out. If I hear there's really good tobacco here, I'll go check it out, smoke it. There's no restrictions really of like, oh, you got to stay in this wheelhouse. It's just, now I can let my mind wander and create what I want to create. Tell people the story of like different blends I'm coming out with, like one thing with like the toothpicks, which a lot of people don't know, the toothpick is a rolling, live changing blend based on what's currently selling at the factory. So, I mean, if more red nights are being rolled, the toothpick profile is going to change more towards a red night, be more medium body, lighter spice. If more tyrannical bucks or Kralets are getting sold, the leftovers, of course, the toothpick is going to start feeling more nutty, more woody, a little bit more strength and power to it. So that cigar is based on my sales. It's just not one core blend. I wasn't able to do that with the last place I was at. So it's just stuff like that. It's changed a lot. I don't have to worry about a lot of things.
And it gives you the opportunity to look at the whole thing as a more holistic overall.
And now I can do projects, and like the stuff I'm doing in Sweden and stores. I have a place now where I know it's going to get done. I know it's going to be delivered. I don't have to worry about that. I would hate to bring someone in and spend 6 months to 7 months, and the project fails over something stupid, back in Nicaragua. I know that would never happen anymore. And I'm probably gonna get shit from the other people that whatever I used to work with, but it is what it is, man. If you want to grow, sometimes you have to cut a relationship. You have to cut it off, or you're going to sink with that person. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that was a hard decision for me because, worked with a guy for 2 years, trusted him, everything, but shit hit the fan. And I assessed it like my IT side, and this is my only solution. And I went and did it. It is what it is. I think if I never made that change, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I probably would have closed the company down. So I mean, it's great, but it took some hard choices.
Riste, before we wrap things off, let's take a little look into the future. And 2020 has certainly been an interesting year for all of us. What do you have in store for 2021? And further down the line, what is your vision for the brand Jas Sum Kral, and where should it grow to?
So what I got coming out this year, I'm working on a few projects. The Barber Pole toothpick I relaunched. That was a Sweden exclusive. I relaunched that in the States. I am coming out with a new Kralat size of 7x44, a new toothpick size of 6x44. I'm working on a couple store exclusives, a new size for the Fuck the FDA. I'm working on a brand new blend for a country I'm releasing in October. I won't say yet just because it's finalized, but the artwork and when I do a press release, I'll make sure you know. And then a new size we're thinking about doing for the exclusive for Sweden. I have a Barber Pole Tyrannical Buck coming out. And then the biggest thing I get is, why can't we smoke the nugs in Europe? Why can't we smoke the nugs here? Why can't we smoke the nugs here? The problem is because those have to ship from the US and it's a lot more expensive. After I pay my import fees and tax, I have to put that on. But I'm working on a project called like the Nugless Project. So it will be the cigar without the CBD. And if you smoke the one with CBD, you will notice there's really no difference. So that project will be called the Nugless Project. It will be a 10 count of just that cigar size in both blends that would actually be available around the world. So I'm kind of want to push that out. And when restrictions as far as, CBD are more lenient, I can start shipping that. I would love to start shipping it to the UK. I just sent the UK, I want to say it was in December. I opened that up with Parrish, which I thought was cool. Another person I have never met in person, but someone handed him a cigar and he loved it, and he did not hesitate to call. So I would love to do something with you. At first, I'd love to go to the UK and meet everyone. That's my plans for 2020. As travel opens, yes, Roy, 100%, Ray, 100%. I just want to get back out and travel, meet people, live that brother of the life that I enjoy. And that's it. If any, I'm working on a project for house blends for cigars. I have a lot of people in Europe that, I mean, the regulations and taxes are tough in Europe. Well, anywhere outside of the US. I'm trying to work on blends for them so we can kind of keep like a lower price point cigar, but still deliver flavor and everything. So, I mean, I have a lot of things coming out in 2020. I was going to release my 5-year cigar last year, but because of COVID, I didn't. So I might release my 5-year anniversary cigar on my 6th year, which would be in November of this year. So the worst thing it aged for another year at the factory floor. So you're getting a better tasting cigar.
Riste, it would certainly be a Jas Sum Kral sort of move to just release your 5th anniversary cigar on the 6th.
On the 6th year, it fits the brand perfectly. That would be like the Habanos effect. You know what I'm saying? Talk about a cigar in 2017 and release in 2019. So
it sounds like you've got a lot up your sleeve and a very exciting future ahead. And we also have an exciting schedule coming up next week.
Nice.
We'll have Manuel Linoa from La Aurora joining us for another wonderful show here. Again, Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard, 8 p.m. Central European time. And please make sure to log on to lightemupworld.com and you can sign up. We send all the invitations out there. But Riste, what a tremendous pleasure it's been to catch up with you and share this wonderful conversation. Thank you for speaking your innermost truth. And I read so many comments over on Facebook and so many people were watching. So
that's good. I can't see none of that. So, I mean, I hope it was all good stuff they said. But before we cut off, I just want to say one thing. I want to wish Jose Blanco a healthy, I hope he recovers real well. I know he's in the hospital. And I know Jose, we've talked a few, but he lives in my home country. And so I wish him a healthy, at the hospital right now.
Thank you, Riste. That's wonderful. We all send our love and our regards to Jose. He's a dear friend of ours in the show. And
yeah, he's a great guy.
I spoke to him a couple of days ago and he was much better.
Okay.
So all fingers crossed, and I'm sure that Jose will be back up to full speed and full energy within the next couple of days. But thank you for thinking of him. And Riste, I would love to ask you a final question before we go. And I very much enjoyed how you described your journey, your process, your roots from Macedonia, and how everything that you have experienced in life really made you the person you are, but also the manufacturer that you are. The hospitality aspect speaks right to my heart and soul because that's where I come from, and the experiential component. So what would you like to give to your children? I know you've got a couple of wonderful children running around your home. What would you like to give them and offer them as an experience, just like your mother and probably your family has offered you with all the home cooked meals and the experiences and the hospitality? What would you like to install in the future generation, and in particular your own children?
What I want for my kids when they grow up, coming from the cigar in the world, I honestly would love them to know that their family is not just here; it's all over. Could I tell you a quick story? So I'm in Germany 2 years ago, right? And I'm staying in a frat house, and it's a bunch of 19, 20-year-old guys going to college. And the story was the American's coming, you know what I'm saying? He's sleeping at this place for 4 nights. We end up drinking every night hardcore, but I got to know them very well. And it's a brotherhood from the 1800s, and you just can't be a member. Before I left, I was patched in. I was given a patch, and this truly made me understand this would have never happened if it wasn't for tobacco or in the love for it people have. I was told, God forbid anything ever happened to you, and one of your kids or your wife shows up to this door outside holding this patch I'm about to give you. He has a brother. They have food, home, and shelter. We will take care of them. So that hit me right at the heart, So I told that guy, here's my gold JSK coin. If you ever come to the Midwest, show this to someone. They'll get you to me, and I'll make sure, same thing happens to you or whoever comes over. So I want my kids to know that the word family is extended around the world. I want them to have a stress-free life,
Couldn't think of a better way to end this conversation. And thank you so much, Riste.
Thank you, man.
As I said, a tremendous pleasure to have you. All the very best for you. I wish you a fantastic 2021.
And sorry it took literally eight months to get on here.
Not at all.
I know you'd email me every month. I'm sorry, but
Not
you know,
at all.
I'm truly honored. I got invited to be on your show, and I'd like to see you, hopefully in Dortmund.
We're connected, brother. I can't wait to see you super soon and smoke a cigar with you live.
Thank you, everyone who joined in.
All the very best. Stay safe, brother.
Cheers.